Okay, so I want to talk about them getting on the boat and the guys and the girls getting the opportunity to really hang out with one another. It was good to see Voldemort and Chris really get the opportunity. Like
Voldemort.
You know what I mean? I'm not calling her by her name. We won't even say it on this channel. Like, I'm done. Honestly, I'm done. And I watched the after show with Katina, Lindsay, and Steve.
Mm-hmm.
And Katina was like, well, it's a shame that nobody gets to see how nice of a person she is, because she really does have a good heart. But this is what's, it's a shame nobody got to see that first. And my thing is, I would argue the opposite. I think that, and I know that I kind of abruptly kind of made like a skirt to this point, but we have watched Alyssa, and I'm, I said her name. You gotta bleep that moment. We have watched her with Chris in several moments where she is gaslighting this human being, and it is so uncomfortable to watch. It is like the scariest thing. I haven't seen anything like this in a long time, and I feel like I'm going to need therapy after Married at First Sight is over, because I feel less than watching this.
I think Katina was completely off base by her statements first.
Completely.
I think that's like when somebody is called out on the carpet in the public for being racist or sexist or whatever, and then somebody comes on and says, well, that person was nice to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that was. You know what I mean?
1,000%.
And so I think we don't care if she's nice to the people she likes, right? That's not a true show of character. Like how I treat my best friend. That's not a true show of character.
But you know what I would
argue? Her to be doing this stuff to him, demonizing him, gaslighting him, just really doing terrible manipulative things to him is so ugly and so evil. It is evil what she's doing to him. And I think that we should not excuse that and ever try to explain that away in any type of way. Katina.
I think, and I would make an argument, you guys let me know what you think. I tell people this all the time. And this is such a tangent, but I have to say this so you guys can understand what I'm getting at. I tell people all the time, I don't believe in male-female relationships because I believe that people are only friends with people they are attracted to. And that means, and that's a real thing, right? It could be anything you're attracted to them by. It could be the fact that they're a great musician or whatever the case may be. But it's different when it's men and women, right? Like you are attracted to some part of this person, and that could grow into something else, which is why I'm always like leery of it, right? I'm saying all that to say, if Katina was ugly, Alyssa would not be friends with Katina. You would never have known the nice part of her if she didn't find you attractive.
Right.
Are you picking up what I'm
saying? 1,000%.
And I feel like, so to your point, I really want, and I'm saying this early because I don't want this to get lost, just in case y'all feel like y'all gonna skip through whatever the case may be. Black people, stop caping for white people. They can do what they need to do. They could say whatever they need to say. She don't care for her goddamn self. So why would you come on here and try to feel like you got to be the one that's like, oh well, she's a nice person? No, you don't have to do that. You don't have mind your bit. Let us mind our black owned business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My thing is she could care for herself because you don't even want to go down with that. Because then it's gonna be some whole I bet you be some tweets, some Facebook posts, some whatever, and we ain't ever gonna forget you like, well, she was a nice person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like because people will literally you will care for somebody who will turn around and do genocide on the whole country.
Straight up.
You know what I mean? Like, girl, bye. But I thought, I'm saying all that to say, I was really glad that they all got on a boat. I was kind of optimistic that Voldemort and Chris might be kind of not growing something, but maybe she would be giving it a chance. She obviously abruptly.
I knew she wasn't going to give it a chance. I knew she was just going along to get along because somebody in production told her you're contractually obligated to be here. So she showed up because she doesn't have the money to fight Lifetime. So I knew that her showing up was just her going through the motions. And I almost wished that some part of that will continue just for the heart of Chris. Like
Yeah.
just so we stop watching this man be treated so poorly. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole thing of I don't want to. She's crying because she doesn't want to go swimming next to him because she doesn't want to be next. It's so
She don't even want
childish.
to. She don't. But I'm still having the hardest time really understanding Voldemort because I feel like why how can you be so vain that even having activities with a person you may not be physically
That's
attract
immature. That's what kids do.
it
What
scares
children
me.
do.
It's so triggering. Like I feel like disgusted by it. But since we digging into them, what else did she do that I didn't like this
What didn't
episode?
she do?
They had the conversation about, and I'm so glad he asked this question. Chris asked Voldemort, what did you tell them that you wanted, or what did you expect? And she goes on to tell a story about how she went to see a psychic. I'm a good witch, so I believe in all that. And this psychic told her that her soulmate had a lion, had an eagle tattoo. Okay, an eagle tattoo. So on his chest. So I was like, okay, like that's fascinating, right? You know what I mean? So when we seen Chris with his shirt off, he doesn't have one of those, and he thought it was like okay, so this is how you're gonna base your life's decisions
Right.
on whether or not the psychic said this person would or would not be your soulmate. Now, I will say this: being a good witch and understanding how the energies of the universe, vaguely understanding how the energies of the universe works, I do believe that it comes out on the after show that it was a lion tattoo on the chest. She had told everybody and that it was a lion tattoo first, but when she got on the cameras, she said eagle tattoo because Noi was so upset because Steve has a lion tattoo on his chest that she's like thinking like I don't want it to be no Zach and Bow type
Yeah.
BS going on, right? So I'm thinking this though. I think that because I'm a student of the universe, I do believe that the psychic might have read Noi on Alyssa. Like it might not have been your soulmate. Like every time somebody pulls cards on you, it really and you feel like it doesn't resonate, it genuinely might not be you. You know what I mean? It might be something going on with somebody else. But I thought it was fascinating that I'm glad she told him exactly those things. I thought that was honest. But I thought I still think that her inability to give this a chance, not even give this a chance. I just am still trying to figure out why she signed up for this shit.
I don't
I'm
I,
still trying
I
to figure it out.
don't think that what she told him was honest. I thought it was manipulative. I think because anybody who goes to
You take it with
a
a grain of
psychic
salt.
knows that you take everything with a grain of salt.
That's true.
So if your psychic tells you that I see a house on fire, you
Yeah.
don't go home and then put your house up for sale for fear that it will catch fire tonight, right?
Right.
That was manipulative. And later came out in the wash with whatever the other situation was. But Chris's point was that's all well and good, but this is not, you signed up for this process,
Mm-hmm.
and this is not how pick a spouse. Otherwise you would have been married already to somebody else, right?
But that's the biggest thing for me. If you are such the catch, you are under the expectation that you are. Why did you need to have strangers hook you up with another stranger? And Mary, I'm still. But then Jamie Notice says this thing. I know we kind of going around it, but y'all know how we do. Jamie Notice says in the comments, well, she's surprised that there hasn't been any runaway brides because there's nowhere in the contract that says you can't leave them at the altar. And I do not believe that.
That's not true.
I do not. I want to see the contract.
That's
You're
not
not
true.
going to get me to believe it. Because if this woman turned around and she knew at the altar she ain't like this mother jumper,
She did. And
you could tell.
And we've seen it in seasons past where people who desperately wanted to leave kept showing up to film because they're contractually obligated to. You sign a contract for X amount of weeks, and they don't care whether you sleeping next to that mother jumper or not.
Come on.
They know that you have a certain amount of hours that you need to fill on camera. That's why they will even film you in separate spaces. because they
They
are, you are cast on the show. You're cast on the show. You're not asked to do the
yep.
show. You're not, it's not a thing of a favor. Like, you sign a contract, you sign an NDA. All of this is legally binding stuff.
You're not going to get me to
So
believe
she
it.
just, it's very clear that Jamie just doesn't read well if she thinks that she could have just walked off the set at any point. Because
You're
I've
not
never
gonna
heard
get
that
me.
about any reality show.
I mean, any. They even contract you for reunions and this and that.
All of that.
And
You're being paid. So let's just bring it to
this
real.
is a
Let's just
production.
bring it to real world terms. Have you ever been paid for anything where they told you that it was a multi-week or multi-day job and they told you were free to go whenever the hell you wanted to? Who has that ever happened to?
That's why they have call times and because they have to control how and where you are and what
1,000%.
moments. It's like, I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. And it's like, girl, shut the another reason why I'm glad Keisha
Yes.
is here. Another reason. But I want to move on. The mama. So now she mad at her mama. You know what I'm having a hard time with, and I'm really trying to give Lifetime the benefit of the doubt because I recognize who their target demographic is. Okay. And I love people. I'm a people lover. Joe is a people lover. But I do take issue with the demographic that falls in that, like, Karen space.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I do have, like, I'm not too keen on that. And that crying, I don't want to go swimming with him. I don't want to. I'm done with I'm tired
That was
of my
terrible
mom
to
right
watch.
now. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I mean, but she just oozes immaturity. The way she's treating him is immature. The way she's handling the situation is immature. The way I mean, it's preschool. That's what kids do in preschool. I don't like the fat kid, so I'm gonna call him a fat kid. Ooh, look at you, fat kid, boogers. Like, I just, it's like we're watching a preschooler, right? So it's, the whole thing just oozes immaturity, and that's all it is. The same thing with the mom and her pouting because her mom told her, comport yourself and act like an adult. So now she's mad at her mom. I mean, it's crazy. This is crazy, and this is sad.
Insane. It is insane. I don't want to be close to him. It's just like,
this is all because she's not attracted to him.
What? I have never disliked a human being I didn't know this much in my life. We just don't need people like that in the world, and I just really feel that way.
Yeah, I wish that they would have just literally swapped her out. Just leave
in the middle of the goddamn ceremony.
Leave.
Like, excuse me, sis, we don't need you, right?
Yeah.
But she needs to be knocked down about 17 pegs because she is really drinking her own Kool-Aid. Okay, which, go ahead, girl, live a full life, material girl. I wish you on that, but it's like, I just don't see it. I do not see it. Like, I want you to be like, if the problem I'm having is that I want to see this bad bitch that you really like. Where is she at? In a real tea? In a real tea, a real bad bitch is a gracious queen. Yeah. A gracious one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the when you really are a beautiful woman, when you really are that bitch, being around anybody does not bother you. I am that bitch. Anybody who know me, you sit around me, you gonna think you in love. Or I'm in love with you because I'm so nice and I'm so giving, I'm so caring. And it's like, that's how people should be. Humanity is so important. And it's like, the fact that you can't, and grace is so important. And I don't have to want to jump your bones to be nice to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it don't cost me nothing.
Especially for somebody who hasn't done anything to you. Like, he hasn't done anything to her. And we all know that. And
I'm really getting tired of caping for white men. They don't need no help. Okay. Y'all doing all right. Y'all doing all right. And I mean that because y'all doing all right. I don't have to cape for y'all. But I got to get out here and save my brother Chris. But yeah. So they get on the boat. They have separate conversations. The guys talk about the conversation that Michael and Jasmina have about him being worried that he's not showing up a certain way with her, and she immediately thinks, like, you're thinking the worst of this. It kind of it made it bigger than what it was.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Michael was worried,
which is consistent with what she's been doing.
So Michael says to the group of guys, like, how do you like kind of combat being nervous that you're like trying to be in the situation and not mess it up, but really trying to be conscious of all the little things that might be going on? Like, how do you do both without seeming like overbearing or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good question. I thought that, I'm glad the problem is I think he's emotionally unavailable, yet emotionally intelligent enough to know that he can be emotionally unavailable. Does that make sense?
Yes, 1,000%. And I think that what's unfair about his pairing is that he's paired with somebody who is just not, it doesn't even know that she's not ready for this. Like she doesn't even know that she can't even check her own feelings and her own actions and her own faults like at all. Like she comes across as very aloof as far as how to approach this relationship, how to acquiesce to another person,
Mm-hmm.
how to, it's just, she is single. And it's clear to me that in her mind, she is single. And she can, and she, when it comes across to me like she went into this with no intentions of being open to anything. I'm going to do this. We talk about this every season. When you go in with this mindset of you're going to fit into my box, you're bound to Drizzy on. That's
Joe,
25 minutes, 20. We not even at a half an hour.
we,
When you come into the situation already with your mind made up of what you're not going to do, what you're not going to do is be in a loving, successful marriage. That's what you're not going
you
to do.
know, I,
Because being married, marriage is sorry. That's what
all the
it is.
time.
Like it should be on a t-shirt. Like being married is saying I'm sorry. You know what I mean? So for you to start this whole thing over what you thought you was justified or not to say or not say, and whether you think you need to say, and then take this mantle of I'm not going to do it how you want me to do it.
Well, that's moving into the second kind of tiff that they had.
It's just crazy to me. Like the whole thing is just crazy to me. And it's like that has do
It's
you
reoccurring.
yeah, yeah.
It's reoccurring. So the first kind of issue that Jasmina had was that she feels like he needs to be a little bit more present in the moment, not worried so much about how things are looking, the optics of things, and just feel and just be, because she thinks that if he's overthinking it, it's going to push them away. Okay. So I want to say this. I get what she's saying. However, I don't think that the solution is not overthinking it. I think that the solution is providing comfort. You know what I mean? Like I recognize that that might be something that you're going to do. I'm an overthinker, right? Like Joe can be an overthinker at times. So I do think that there's a space for that. And what we should be rewarding, people need to learn compliment sandwich. I see that what you're trying to say is that you want to be present here. And I appreciate that. You know what I mean? I appreciate that you see me and you want me to be having a good time. You want us to be on the up and up and everything like that. But I'm here and I want you to be here in this moment with me. And when we come to a crossroad, we'll handle it then. But you and I don't have to create one. We're here. You know what I mean? And I think that's what she was trying to say. But I think it came off a little bit dismissive of his feelings, because imagine the anxiety that you have not knowing a human being. You don't even know the nuances of a human being. Like I can look at Joe, I can tell if he in a bad mood, but you don't even know the nuances yet. So there's anxiety there, like with that. Like if I'm, you know what I mean?
And I'm saying that in order to be able to step up to the plate in situations like that, you have to be open to learning. You have to be open to learning the person. You have to be open to learning the the dynamic of the situation, what works for us, what doesn't work for us, right? And by every part of her language, she gives me closed-minded, not open. This is what it is, right? You have to be open to the fact that you might meet somebody who is going through something, right? You might meet somebody who doesn't communicate how you want them to
Yeah.
communicate. You might meet somebody who um doesn't see things the way you see things, right? And being ready for this process is being open to adjusting, to making adjustments to that. Okay, this person might need me to be a little bit more understanding
Mm-hmm.
in these early stages. Let me be open to that because I might need to flex that muscle, right? She's coming into this with this attitude of like, no, this is what it's supposed to be, and if it's not, then we got a problem.
Now the other part of me, and I'm gonna cape a little bit. I'm two minded about this. My first mind is my wife mind is give room. You know what I mean? Like give room, and you gotta create, and not that there shouldn't be a safe space for women to feel emotional, but let's be honest, right? Like when women are emotional, it's not seen as a negative thing. It's just seen as a thing that women do,
Right.
right? So if we're in a space and a man says how he feels about something, I think that not that more, it should have more gravity, but I think that it should be given the proper gravity. Does that make sense? Like you should really lean in. Okay, let's talk about this. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Let's clear a space for this. And I'm saying that because we have seen, we were talking about, I mean, not we were talking about, I saw this meme and I think it's really spot on. And it was Kanye West, Tyrese, and Will Smith, all of them looking like they're on the verge of tears. And it's like we made memes out of men who were expressing their feelings about things.
Mhm.
This is why men don't express feelings, right? You know what I mean? And my fear is that I don't want her to make it a space where he feels more comfortable regressing and being less expressive than he is already.
And I see that is where this is going because it seems like even when he's trying to
Communicate.
raise the white flag, she doesn't even want to go along with that. It's what we was talking about before, where it felt like, why do you feel like you have to just overly assert yourself
Mm-hmm.
in anything, right? It happened last episode. It happened this episode where he's like, you know what? To a fault of his, you know what? That's fine. I'm gonna accept your apology because he just literally just gave in and said, you know what? I'm gonna accept your apology, however the hell you give it, because I understand that you feel sincere in your stance here. She responded to that with like this confrontational vibe of like, nah, whatever, you don't really mean that. And it's like, yo, like, so now not only are you not open to learning how to treat your spouse, which is a big part of marriage, right?
Any relationship.
Which is any successful relationship
Yeah.
is, yes, I do need to apologize to you how you want me to apologize to you, because I'm not in a relationship by myself.
Yes.
Sis Jasmina.
And I know
right?
that sounds crazy. I know that sounds crazy, but there is a space, there's a nuance for just because I didn't, because I don't think she cut him off. The conversation is
She did. It is a fact. She did not cut him off.
Let's be clear. She didn't.
But you could tell that even he is like second thinking it, because in one of the clips, he literally said, in my mind, I thought she cut me off. Right. So even at the table, I think that might have been part of why he walked it back at the table and said, you know what? I'm going to take this.
Which is also okay. And we got to have spaces for that, right? Because we've all been in the midst of an argument and think in a moment like, I'm wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? After I did all this hubbub and everything like that. And it's got to be room for that, right? I recognize, but I have a theory, okay, that Jasmina has not dealt with good men. And by not to say that Michael is a good man, I'm saying that she has not had positive relationships with men, uncles, daddies, stepdaddies, husbands, boyfriends, whomever, because she asserts herself in a manner where you will not silence me. And that to me is when I've historically known people, that's because they've been in a space where they cannot communicate freely. So now they right to the quick with it. Like, this is what it is. And because I got to get it out before you come with any BS you got. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to smack a dog on his nose, push his face in the piss. Even if it's not a moment for that. Like, she's always on I always get this wrong. Is it defense or offense?
offense.
Yes, she's always on the offense. You know what I mean? And I think that's where a lot of this comes from too. Because to your point, like I'm big on like we done. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sorry. It don't cost me nothing to say sorry because also people live in their minds. You know what I mean? And to hear him talk about the trauma that he's going through, she's experienced same kind of trauma and loss and everything like that. It makes you feel like, damn, like
my problem with this is we all come into this to marriage, to any relationship, married at first sight, regular marriage, with our own baggage and our own issues and our own flaws. At the very basic minimum of any type of marriage or relationship that's worth its salt has to be the ability to be open to learning your spouse. It doesn't matter what you've been through. No matter what your daddy did to you, your mom did to you. At the very minimum, you need to be open to learning your spouse.
I feel
that's it.
I
That's
get
like
what you're saying.
That's like basic 101. That's like saying I'm gonna go swimming, and at the very minimum, I need to be okay with getting wet. Like literally, that's like ground 101.
I get what you're saying, but I think what we're speaking to is that when you haven't grown in affection for somebody and you haven't grown in spaces with them and now you're married to them, right? You may not even have the tools to show up that way.
Right. And I'm saying it's clear that she does not have the tools.
Because I think that she's going to gain them. She's going to gain patience. She's going to gain grace. Because I can't see myself turning up in a moment like that. Because if I didn't do anything wrong, I just didn't do anything wrong. And I would have went like, oh, damn. Well, if it came off that way, my bad. I'm sorry.
But this is less about the situation and more about your readiness and willingness to just be with another person.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean? Like you can't say that you're down to move in with somebody if you're OCD to the point where you can't have anything not be the way that you have it, right? At the very minimum, if you're going to be a roommate, you got to at least be open to shit not looking how you always have it looking, right? That's all I'm saying. Like this is irregardless of the situation, it's going to be plenty of other situations, right?
Yeah.
Where at the very minimum to make it through, you just have to be open. Like it just can't be like, this is what it is, period. You have to be open. The biggest red flag to me was I'm not going to apologize how you want me to apologize.
I think she's going to, one day she'll look back on this and she'll realize that that's silly. She will.
We hope so.
I do expect, you know, and I don't know, I think we've kind of worked on this. Like there's a way, like I can resolve arguments by myself. Like, what did Jay say?
I fixed it.
You know what I mean? That's still funny. Like literally in my mind, I'm thinking like, all right, like I'm done. But Joe can genuinely still be upset, but not upset. I don't even want to say upset. Joe still needs a moment where we acknowledge what happened.
Well, conflict between two people is only resolved between those two people.
Exactly. So it's unfair of me to be like, well, I'm done. You should be done too, without communicating that, right? So I'm saying all that to say, I know that there's a certain way I have to approach a situation where he may feel, you know, wronged or whatever the case may be, in order for us to meet common ground. But in the same way, Joe understands that I don't respond to certain things and I don't do certain things don't work for me. So when him and I are talking about something where I feel, not the greatest about, he can come to me in a manner that I eat things up, because communication is what I always say. Communication is what you said, how you said it, and what you meant, like how I received what you said. You know what I mean? What you said, what you meant to say, and how I received what you said. So he could have said something that makes sense, but if I receive it a certain way, that needs to be acknowledged as well. It's not my fault I received it a certain. I mean, like, technically it is, right? But the point I'm trying to make is that we can't control every nuance of communication. All we can control is how we handle the rebound of it, right? So if you're saying, I can say whatever I want to out of my mouth, but if you're saying, I didn't like that, I thought it was a little bit abrupt, whatever the case may be, I should still be able to say, you know what? My bad. It's not that deep because I didn't mean it that way.
In the crux of resolution, especially in marriages and in relationships, is okay, so what works for you? The minute you take that out, y'all are fucked. You understand what I'm saying? The minute you take that out of, I don't care what you think is good for you, I'm gonna do what I think is good for you. Y'all are screwed. And that was my biggest issue with their whole situation, because you could tell that she really internalized. She believes, she to her core believes, I don't give a damn how you think I should communicate with you.
Well, which that's not she said that's not turned up on her.
That's not how magic. Magic. That's not how marriage works or any relationship works, right? I can. You are 100% entitled to your feelings and how you perceive something that I say, right? And vice versa, right? But you're not in a space where how I feel I want to be treated is not on the table for discussion, right? That is neglect.
Yeah.
Right? So the minute you tell somebody, I'm not going to acquiesce to what's palatable for you, is the minute that you put a stake in your piece of land and say, this is my land, this is my border, don't cross it, right? So how do you mend? You know what I'm saying? You can't resolve conflict if there's no room to say, you know what, I understand, I fucked up. How can I do this better for you next time? Or what does it look like for you? Because if you say, I don't think that's an apology, it's up to me to go, well, what is an apology for you? And maybe we can find some common ground.
And I think that's where the conversation needs to be. Like, what does it look like for you when things are resolved? But I do want to note, and I want to give this the respect that it deserves too. She said that he was being what she felt was disrespectful to her, and how he addressed the situation and like kind of turned up on her. So I can also understand her angst.
Right,
but I want to be clear.
It's two sides, three sides to every story, and at the very bare minimum of resolution has to be learning. At the end of the day, and if we're gonna land the plane, we have to hear each other's hearts, right? You'll never resolve anything if it's just, I'm gonna do what I want to do and you do what you want to do. Nothing will ever get resolved.
With that, you know? But I'm saying that I agree with that. I what I'm trying to make a space for is her being entitled, her feeling like that can't happen again. And maybe that's where the tone and everything came from. Like the disappointment of having a conversation with somebody and feeling like it went a little bit too left. Like I completely get that.
Yeah,
you know?
You can feel however you want to feel. But if y'all are going to be married and y'all going to move on from this, y'all have to talk to each other about how to fix it. You understand what I'm saying?
No,
you can't. There's no way around. There's no getting past any type of conflict, because again, this is not even about this type of this one situation. It's no getting past any type of conflict without going, okay, because again, if he takes the same energy that she has, then they really screwed. If he takes the same, I don't care if you don't like how I was talking to you, this is how I talk. Right? How does that situation get fixed? You know what I mean?
But I think I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, y'all. I think that might have stemmed from the whole situation with him maybe turning up on her. That's all I'm saying. But I'm just hoping that they kind of come through this and get past it, because I really do. I see it for them a little bit.
I don't see it for them because, like I said, the basis of no matter what happens, like, everybody has a thing that pissed them off in a conflict situation, right? So she could say he turned up. He could say, I don't like how she was talking to me. Yeah. Everybody can say what they want to say. But at the end of the day, if y'all not coming to the table and trying to hear how I can be better for this other person, then y'all not going nowhere. Because in every conflict, you can hold on to what you feel like where you was wrong, right? Everybody can do that. It doesn't matter what it is, you know what I mean? So I don't feel great about them, you know what I'm saying? Because again, this wasn't an isolated.
It's because of her.
This wasn't an isolated situation where I feel like she was approaching the situation like, no, this is what it is. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Like, this wasn't the first time.
Okay. Well, I want to get to the boat because I really want to talk about the conversation that Lindsay and Katina had. Um, they go around, they're all talking about how they are feeling about their spouses, and I really do be thinking that Lindsay be really poking at Voldemort. She gonna say, "Well, how was your and Chris's night?"
Because she, she's a not she is not a likable person. So
I think they both are really on the spectrum of not likable.
Lindsay is way more likable than Alyssa. It's
She has
easy.
more redeeming. She has visible redeeming qualities.
Because even in the conflict on the boat, when they were when we heard from other people in the cast, almost all of them said, "We don't think you're a bad person. We know that you have good qualities." Even Katina said it. Jasmina said it. Even in her frustration of even when Katina was airing her out, she literally said, like, "I don't think you're a terrible person. Like, I think you have good qualities. You just go off on the deep end," or whatever she said. And that's to say, like, she's way more likable than Alyssa is.
I do. I think you're right. I think that, but I do think it was necessary for Katina to check Lindsay's ass.
1,000%, because Lindsay was 100% going to play the victim again. And Katina was like, "Nope, you won't do it here." And I appreciate her doing that so much because she was about to do her Karen. She was getting into her Karen mode. She was about to, do the whole, "I just was triggered because, I got beat before," whatever the hell she was about to go.
Her in the head.
What?
If she gonna tell Katina, well, him and I had a conversation last night, and that would have been, I'd have bashed her right in the head.
But yeah, what you
got a one up on me, ho, with my husband?
Right, and then it was
felt kind of like throwing weight around for me.
It felt like that, and then it also felt like
we had a conversation.
Like you're trying to low key throw his name in there. In the sense of, well, he thinks he was wrong. Like he didn't say that.
He never said that. And the bigger thing here is that Lindsay does have that issue, guys. Let's be clear. I watched the Lifetime the After Show. Y'all know I never watch it, so I'm being real good this season. Okay, I never watch it, but I watched the Lifetime After Show, and because it's giving real good context, and. Mm-hmm. She then tried to change the narrative and say, well, I was talking about you, Katina. I wasn't even talking about him. You are a liar, and the truth ain't in you. And it's very, somebody said in our comments, and y'all won't forgive me for not remembering who, so I apologize. But somebody said, well, she was a hospice nurse, or she talking about Lindsay, as if that mean any goddamn thing. Bad people show up in all types of good spaces, y'all. Y'all got pastors that are still from y'all, and y'all gonna turn around and tell me about a bitch that can, like, I don't care. Y'all literally go to churches where motherfuckers steal y'all money every day, touch little kids, do all this stuff like that, and y'all want us to be like, oh, Lindsay a good person because she take care of people. Like, bitch, bye. Like, my thing is, like, I genuinely, that don't mean shit. It do not mean nothing. There are bad people show up in good places every day. And my thing is, I want to be clear. I don't think she's fully bad, but I do think she weaponizes her white womanness. And I think that it was very good for Keisha girl, to point that out. Like, you'll never understand the plight of what we're going through. Even when she said that, she was like, oh no, I understand. You don't understand. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's the problem. You talk too goddamn much. That's why the Lord gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth.
That's really her problem.
You talk too much. Shut up.
You talk yourself into these big situations, and that's what even her husband was trying to say.
Oh, child, he's done. I mean, well, he's not done, but he's on his way. Yeah. But my thing is, I think I'm saying all that to say, we're talking about apologies and everything like that. Lindsay's core issue is her inability to be empathetic. For her to work in a hospital, this might be why, though. This might be why she can. The funny thing about being an empathetic person is that when you show up in spaces, I get so drained. You know how I do. Like, I will get drained by feelings and everything like that because my tuning fork goes to the most vulnerable person in the room. So if you're in a space where you're not in the happiest space, you're not you know what I mean? Like, a lot is going on. It is something in my spirit wants me to go here to help you get out of that. In doing that, right? it drains my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I could never work in a hospice place. You know, I could never do that.
Right.
I would be drained every day. But the reason why she's able to do it, because she lacks empathy. Okay? Because empathy would have had you saying, I'm listening to these black women. I see you. I hear you. And based on whatever's going on in the world, I can understand the connection to that. And therefore, I apologize, right? But she in a space where you're going to switch the narrative from angry black man to angry black woman?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's just being oblivious to that plight and also the connotations of it. So for her to, it was even more egregious of her to act like she, oh, I know, whatever, I know. You know what I'm saying? When it's, you're making it very clear that you do not know, you do not understand the,
You couldn't have known. You said it.
You couldn't have known. And you also, because you played this like, I don't understand why Katina's upset with me, all this thing on the boat. It even confirmed even further that you didn't know why Katina was as upset as she was. That definitely stemmed from you trying to demonize a black man in your Karen way,
right?
Like you did with that. Oh, he was just aggressive with me, and you know what I mean.
And I want to be clear. I know all the nurses and the doctors and all the people who work on people gonna be all up in our mentions, like, bitch, we love people. I know y'all do. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
this is about Lindsay.
I'm
this
talking
is not
about her
nurses,
and right. And yeah. I gotta clarify that because Lord knows. Mm-hmm. But I'm getting at though is that her in particular is very clear based on the way that her father has kind of talked about her brother, her friends, that she has blinders on that only protect her feelings, and her space and her bubble. You know what I mean? And I do believe I know she has redeeming qualities. We've seen it when she interacted with Mark at the making the pina coladas and everything. We've seen it. What did he do though? Don't do that. You know, I can't make a drink. Y'all see how bad I am? I can't even move both my hands at the same time. It don't feel right. But no, I think that she definitely has redeeming qualities. It's so fascinating to see I don't feel like we've seen other people, all different types of cultures come through Married at First Sight. Well, maybe not all different types, but we've seen some different cultures. This is the first time I felt like I'm really watching Karens on TV.
Yeah, for me too. This is probably the first,
like where I really don't.
Two of them, like
it's weird.
Man,
it's very weird. It's very weird, and I mean Karen from a really specific place, because I think sometimes we have friends, me included. I'm like, we are the world kind of girlfriends. All my girlfriends is like somebody different, right? But I do have moments with my girlfriends who aren't women of color where I feel like you really don't get this. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like I know, and I want to say that's to no fault of their own, because if I grew up a certain way and in a bubble, I don't know how aware I would be as well.
Yeah, like the fault is not being
necessarily on them.
The fault is not being unaware. It's
being ignorant.
Yeah, that's
it's
what
like
it is.
Knowing you don't know and not giving a fuck.
Exactly. That's what it is. Because there are people who are unaware but understand that they are unaware.
Right.
And so they will say, you know what?
And don't make an excuse for the fact that
right. I don't know. I don't understand this.
Yeah, like let me know.
Right. Instead of just being defensive about it, like, no, that doesn't exist. So.
Right. Or pretending like you do know.
Or pretending like you do know, which is worse.
Because that also absolves you of the responsibility of really hearing what I have to say.
Yeah.
Like, don't minimize Black voices, women of color's voices, people of color's voices. That's not okay. It's just not okay. So I'm glad she checked that hole right in the moment. What you're not going to do, we're not going to do that. Like, you're not going to keep having this narrative that my husband did, boom, boom, boom. We're not doing that. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Just take responsibility, shut the fuck up, and let's move on. Right. And that's what I don't get. Like, I don't get why she don't want this to be over. It's because she
wants to play the victim.
She's a producer.
Yeah, and she's gonna go down as the victim.
And it's just not up for debate. So let's talk about Mark and Lindsay. Let's get into it. They had a really good first day. First date that day. He told her, we ain't drinking the way you've been drinking, bitch. You had 3 bottles of wine.
And I
know how I could
scarred.
get away.
He feels like I am terrified to see what I saw again.
And he's kind of triggered by, he said he had a relationship where he was with a young woman who used to drink like that and kind of like lash out or whatever the case may be. So part of him is like, I'm not doing this shit.
He's scared. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I kind of get that. I understand it. And I understand him trying to make a precedent for that. And I also understand there is a population of people who are conflict averse.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like not to say that they can't handle their own, but more like I don't deal in this kind of
at
energy.
all. You could tell that that's genuinely him. Like he's just like, sis, wherever this. Even when he came down to talk to the rest of the cast, it was just very much from a place of like, I'm not even about all of this.
Yeah,
and I know
I'm stressed out. Y'all stressed out. I'm stressed out.
Yeah, like, can I wave the white flag for her, and apologize for her, which he actually did.
And I think one of two things is going to happen. They're either going to find a middle ground, and he's going to be cape for her a little bit more, and she's going to tone it down a bit, right? Or I think it's going to be an issue for them. Like I think that it's
definitely going to be an issue for them because that's who Lindsay is, and that's what
she's not
all of the family was. All the family was kind of warning everybody about. That's who she is. That's who she is, and she ain't about to change in this 6 weeks or whatever is about to be.
But can I say this though? I got a lot of friends in a marriage just like that. Where the woman say whatever the fuck she wants to, and the husband is constantly cleaning it up. He is like literally the garbage man. Like I know about 2, maybe 3 marriages just like that. Like you know what I mean? Like so part of me is like being a woman who used to terrorize a spouse. Part of me feels so bad for Mark because I've been a terrorist. You know what I mean? And like, oh, that sounds so bad.
I think everybody feels
FBI. I have not actually. I mean, like,
don't flag that.
Right? Oh my god.
But I think everybody feels bad for Mark. The problem is Lindsay don't feel bad for Mark. Lindsay don't think she is doing a goddamn thing.
Lindsay don't see
at all.
Damn thing. So they consummate their marriage, and then they have a romantic dinner, and he just told us so straight up, like, I want to pull back a bit. And you know what they told me? She ain't really. If you really, ain't nobody gonna say they want to stop.
He said he wanted to pull back because he is terrified.
Of course, but that don't mean you don't want no pum pum.
I don't. He never said that. He never said that. He never alluded to that to me. I never caught that from him. And I think to your point of him being, anti-confrontational, he was having a hard time choosing his words in that moment, and he couldn't.
Which I don't like either. You grown. Say what you mean.
He couldn't really get across what he was trying to get across, and she's very like domineering, like she was going to pounce on him. So I think that part of it was he didn't really express fully how he was feeling, and he wasn't great at picking his words in that moment. But I think he was really just trying to say, like, I like you and I like us and I'm getting to like you, but some of the things that you do and have done are terrifying to me.
He is terrified.
You know what I mean? And he just doesn't know how to like get that across.
I get that. I really do. And I think that, but when she said, well, then you need to stop going.
She was just being nasty at that point because her feelings was hurt. Oh, don't go to the bathroom and clog up the toilet. Like, what? What does him taking a smash got to do with?
Personal.
She was just nasty. She was just being nasty. And this is the other part of Lindsay that her family was trying to tell us why the mama don't.
But that's the inability to just show up and be okay with being not right in every situation. Like, that's the weird thing to me. Like, and I know it's a lot of people who suffer from that. We all know people who, like, they can be categorically wrong, but they have a almost like a disease that keeps them from being showing up and saying sorry, I was wrong. They will find a way to contort the situation
Yeah.
so that it's not even recognizable anymore and you're just exhausted.
Yeah.
So you're like, whatever. You know what I
Which
mean?
is kind of what happened because they got to the hotel room and he was just like, you know what? All right,
I'm gonna walk away.
I'm gonna just walk away.
I just want her. I'm just hoping that this experience. I just wonder. First of all, two things. I really wonder about the last man because he left her like what, the week before they got married or something like that.
Oh, I don't remember.
Was it the week, y'all, before they got married? I think it was the week.
I don't know.
He left her ass, and like I said, being somebody who was not always the greatest spouse, I do love in marriage is such an experience, and it's constantly learning. You know what I mean? And constantly being open to learning.
That's what I see.
Constantly calibrating, constantly, you know what I mean, changing and contorting yourself for your relationship and doing acrobatics and all this stuff like that to make things work. So when you're met with somebody who doesn't even have the small thing, like, you got to at the very least know that what I say and do affects other people.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you have that knowledge, you can go far with anybody.
It's very clear that Lindsay is not anywhere in touch with that sentiment.
She is absolutely positively not in touch
at all.
Which is probably why she's a fantastic nurse. Like, you know what I mean? And I mean it from a space of like, I know like nurses are amazing people, and I don't want to say what I'm getting at is that to be in an environment and you see people slip away every day, you have to be a certain amount detached. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. Because how could you do it if you weren't detached? You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's something to how she probably is a fantastic hospice nurse. You know what I mean? And but I do think that the way she shows up, the way that they have the ability, production has the ability to continue to pick people who have visible mental issues.
Yeah.
Is amazing.
But I mean, and
they probably got a bunch of normal people.
We say it every season that we need to know more about this process because they can't be doing psyche vows on some of these people.
I have so many questions. But we're gonna wrap it up because I'm making mole tonight, chicken mole, and because it's Taco Tuesday. It is not Tuesday. It's Taco Thursday. But I want to say this. Did you guys watch Adults Adopting Adults?
That was a mess.
Woo! Did y'all watch it?
It was a mess.
Let us know. Somebody also asked us about reviewing. Y'all gonna beat my ass because I know exactly who y'all are. And then the moment I get on here, I get stage fright and I can't remember their names. I'm telling y'all, I know exactly who you are, but so I apologize. But they asked us about reviewing Our Type of People, the one with Yacht. You remember we started it?
Oh yeah, we started it.
We started it. So we're not adverse to picking it back up.
Yeah.
But it should be almost over by now though.
It is. I think it is. I think it just something about it didn't hold us.
Something about it. So if you hung out with us this long, let us know what you're watching right now. You know what I mean? We're about to get back into Ozark. I'm an empath. I don't know how much of Ozark I can watch. What's the other one I can't really get into anymore? We're watching The Servant on Apple TV. I'm gonna be honest. We watched a couple episodes. I was like, no. Then we watched a couple episodes. I was into it. So yeah. Very good show. But Adults Adopting Adults is the precursor to predatory behavior, and I feel unbelievably.
It's hella cringy.
It is. Oh, the back of my throat kind of just like.
But y'all gotta, it's hella cringy.
It is. It's something, but y'all, if you watched it, oh my God, please bust down and tell us if you want us to continue to watch it, because a small TLC loving part of me, even though this is A&E, hey y'all, really wants to watch it.
Yeah, because it's like a car wreck.
It is the worst.
That you just can't stop staring at. You know what I mean?
But then the other part of me is like, am I a bad person because we're watching this?
I mean,
No,
A lot of people are watching it, and I think that it is.
it is
It's
cringe.
just yeah, it's just a gaper delay. That's all it is.
And I think I kind of like it. So, if you have not already, bust down. We're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna cook some dinner. Bust down, subscribe to this channel. Make sure you're following Joe and I on our socials and my YouTubes, Zar Galore. Make sure you follow me there if you want. I know I ain't been looking like my best self, but I did so much filming, guys. So I haven't been wearing any of my new units or anything because I'm caught up. Oh, so you can see what I look like on my good days there. But let's do it again. Subscribe to this channel. Make sure you follow us on our socials, and we'll see you, beautiful mother jumpers,